with CJ, with CJ, with CJ. Coolin' with CJ, with CJ, with CJ. We coolin' with CJ, with CJ, with CJ.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest in the studio today, a former MLB pitcher that played for the Orioles, Athletics, Mariners, and Brewers. Please welcome Mr. Paul Mitchell. Paul, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
No problem, no problem. So, Paul, let's talk about from the beginning where the love of baseball came from, how you got into the game of baseball. So, what made you not only get into baseball, but stick with it long term?
I always loved playing baseball, basically because I was pretty good at it. But where it really came into is one day my father took me to a Red Sox Yankee game when I was about 6 years old, and we were able to get almost down to the field, and I got a few of the ball players, their autographs. I talked to them a little bit, but from that moment on, I told my father, I turned around to my father at that particular moment. I said, Dad, I know what I want to do when I grow up. I want to be out there someday. And he turned around and he said, good luck. So from that point in time, that's what I wanted. The whole goal in life was to be a Major League Baseball player.
Okay. All right. Nice. So let's talk about the graduation from Worcester Academy in 1968.
Yep.
So you were actually selected by the Pittsburgh Pirates in the 18th round of the 1968 MLB draft. But rather than turn pro, you went to Old Dominion University, ODU, on a scholarship. So what was that decision? Obviously back then, especially, you have a chance to go pro, but instead you took the scholarship, and went the collegiate route.
Yeah, well, it was a difficult decision, but it was also made by my parents. They said, at that particular time, we know what you want to. We know that you want to play baseball, but I think at this point in time, it'd be better to go to college, physically and mentally mature a little bit, get a little bit older, and plus at that particular time, I also knew I had the opportunity that I could play down at Falmouth in the summer league, because Bill Livesey, who was my coach down there, was also affiliated with Worcester Academy. When I was a freshman, I played on the JV team and varsity team. And in my junior year, I believe, or senior year, I went down to the Cape League, and he introduced me to his team. I was on a particular weekend, I saw them play the Yarmouth Red Sox. And so I got acclimated to the team. I got to meet them. So I knew the opportunity was there for the summertime if I wanted. So basically, it was a decision my parents made and I made that to go on to college and play down college and to go down the Cape League.
Okay, nice. So I know that was a tough decision as a kid, especially when you have a chance to go pro, but kind of turning that down. But obviously it worked out. So let's touch on the CCBL. So if you guys are not familiar, he just touched on the Summer Collegiate Baseball League that happens in Cape Cod, Massachusetts every year. So it's basically for the best collegiate baseball players in the world, honestly, from any college. So Paul got to be a part of that collegiate baseball league, which is called the Cape Cod Baseball League, and he played there for 3 years. Well, Paul pulled off something that hasn't been done, probably never will be done, ever again, where he had a team that went to not only 3 straight championships, but they won all 3. And of course, Paul was the pitcher on those 3 teams. And then he was named the outstanding pitcher of the league in 1969 and 1970. So, Paul, let's first start with the championship. So just tell me how it felt to just three-peat, on a team that you played with really for 3 months every year, not even a full-year team. So just to come in that environment, meet these guys, and then go on this title run for 3 years.
Well, we were very, very fortunate that we had a lot of good balance. We had very, very good players. And like you said, they came from all over the country. But I think the most important thing is that what really glued us together was Bill Livesey. I mean, he was a tough guy to play for, but he made us better players. And I think because of that, that's why we were so successful, because we played as a team, we won and lost as a team. And because of that, that's why we won the 3 championships down there.
Right. So, Paul, I know it may be different now, but just talk about the teammates. So I know now, if you play for 3 seasons, obviously you'll probably have different teammates each season. So for back then, how was it? Was it the same teammates every season? Did you have to, meet and kind of play with new people? Did it work?
Okay, the majority of the time we had a
Mm.
good core coming back. Each
Okay.
year we did lose some outstanding ball players. Like my first year down there, we had Steve Greenberg, who was an outstanding first baseman, played for Yale. He
Mm.
was a really outstanding player. We lost him my first year. But then we had a guy who replaced him was Brian Erosion, who later played, I think, in the Canadian Football League and had trial for the Baltimore Colts. Each year there was a turnover, but not a big turnover. Basically, each year we had the same core players coming back, and we knew each other, and we played well together as a team.
Yeah. Okay. Nice, nice. So you've been to CCBL, you've been to the Cape League, you've been to ODU. So when did you notice that okay, I can make this pro dream a reality? So when was that point? Was it the second year in college? Was the second year in the Falmouth Commodores with the Cape League? When did you notice okay, I can go pro and be effective?
Well, I knew all along I had a ability to throw the ball harder than most people. So I always knew that I had potential. But that potential wasn't there in high school. Okay. I could throw the ball harder than most people, but I couldn't command the strike zone. So it was, it was difficulty for me to go out and win and be successful. But then once I went to college, I started I started not playing the other positions, instead really started concentrating on pitching. So from that transition from college, pitching in college, and then coming up to the Cape League, where I was pitching like every third or fourth or fifth day, everything came into fruition for me.
Right.
So the ability to pitch every fourth or fifth day, I started to command the strike zone and get my secondary pitches over. So I would say that's when the scouts really started coming to look at me pitching. Once I
Yeah.
got all my abilities together and started pitching and not just throwing.
Okay. So, Paul, what do you feel was the difference? So, obviously, you said in high school, you didn't have that potential of making it to the pros, but college and the Cape League, you did. So, what changed? Did you change your pitching technique? Did you add more throws to your skill set? What changed from high school up into college?
It was the command of the strike zone. I started throwing the ball to the area that I wanted to throw to, but starting to throw strikes. And I wasn't like behind in the count like 3-1, 3-2 to the hitters. Now it's ahead, and now I could throw my secondary pitches. But it's me commanding the strike zone and throwing consistent strikes. So that's where it started coming in together for me.
Right. Okay, nice, nice. Okay, so let's go to draft night for the MLB draft. So, what was your thinking on that night? Did you think you were going to get picked early? Obviously, you were selected by the Baltimore Orioles in the first round, seventh overall, which is pretty great accomplishment to get chosen in the top 10 of a baseball league or any league, honestly. So, what was the mindset going into that draft? Did you think that you was going to get picked that high? You obviously knew you were going to get drafted,
I
but
knew I,
how high you were going?
I knew I was going to get drafted pretty high. Um,
Okay.
I went to the Pan American Games uh, the winter before uh, my third season down the Cape, and that
Mhm.
team was the 21 or 22 best players in the country. So we
Yeah.
played with kids from Florida State, UCLA, USC, and I knew that when the draft was going to be coming in June, that I was going to be a high draft selection. But what happened was I was drafted by the Orioles, and the reason I went down for my third season, which most people do not do, because
Mhm.
once you get drafted, you usually sign right away. But we're so far apart as far as the money that what they did is they forced me almost to go down to the Cape League, and so every game I pitched, and I pitched an entire season down the
Mhm.
Cape League, and we finally got to the point where it says, okay, we're gonna we came to pretty close as far as my signing bonus. And then after my signing bonus, which was I think I signed in September, they then sent me down to the instruction league, and that was in October and November. And that's when I started my professional career in the instruction league.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so you did something unique. So you made your debut July 1st, 1975, against the Red Sox, which is where you're from, at Fenway Park. So just describe that moment. I know it was probably a dream come true just to start your MLB career at a stadium that you grew up around your whole life.
It was really nerve-wracking. I had to go to every player in the Baltimore Orioles and ask them for their guest passes because I had so many
Yeah,
family and friends and acquaintances that wanted to go to the game.
yeah,
And then, I mean, I was so nervous. It was just because, like you said, it was in Fenway Park. My
yeah.
whole family was there. I had relatives there, I had cousins there, and all that stuff. But not only that, I'm walking out to go to the bullpen area to warm up, and I heard people yelling my name. So trying to you know just get a mindset to go out there and pitch in the bullpen. And then when I'm winding up in the bullpen, I had people all around the bullpen, talking to me while I'm warming up. So
Wow.
it was kind of difficult to get into the mindset of the game, but we did. Well, I think we won. Uh, but then after I got more situated, more involved. It's so cliche that the game speeds up. Well, that game
Mm,
was so fast. And as you transition into it a little bit longer, everything slows down. If you know what I
right,
mean, your
right.
concentration level is there. You're not you really tunnel vision into the hitter, into the catcher. So, but that particular game, the first game was, I was glad it was over.
Yeah. I can imagine. I can imagine. That seems like a special moment right there.
Yeah,
Just
it
to
was a special moment.
go back to that moment and go back to that field and be a player instead of
Yeah,
sitting on the stage
that's
watching it.
exactly.
Okay. All right, Paul. So this is a segment in my show where we do something called hot take questions. So if you've seen Family Feud, at the end they kind of have the fast 5 questions where they ask you questions you have to answer. Just a quick answer, answer real quickly. So this is not going to be timed, but it's just a quick hit
Yeah, yeah,
question
yeah,
I ask you, and you just give me an answer, and then we go to the next one. So it's 5 questions. All right, Paul, you ready?
yeah.
All right. Who is your favorite current MLB pitcher? Current.
Current. My God, I would have to say the starting pitcher for the New York Yankees. I'm trying to think of his name. Uh,
Cole,
yes,
maybe. Yeah,
yes,
Garrett. Okay.
yeah,
Yep.
yes,
He's actually pitching tonight.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Nice. Okay. Who is your favorite pitcher of all time? Could be anybody.
Tom Seaver.
Receiver. Okay. Who's your favorite teammate? It could be, and this can go back to college. Yep. Doesn't have to be pro.
Michael Norris and I got along very, very well. We were both
Okay.
uh, we were both young players on the Oakland A's. We had a little bit of struggles, but we had a lot of successes. But uh, because we're so young and we knew each other and we hung out together,
Yeah.
he was my favorite.
Okay. All right. So favorite coach or manager, and this again can go back to college or high school.
Uh, I'll give you two: George Bamberger and Joe Altobelli.
Okay.
Joe
Nice.
Altobelli was my AAA manager at
Mm,
AAA.
yeah.
Um, he respected you, he respected your abilities, but he
Mm,
made you a better player because of it. And then George Bamberger, because he was my pitching coach with the Orioles, but he was so positive. He made you so confident when you out there and pitched. He never thought about mechanics, but it
yeah.
was just a mindset with him. He says, just go out there, you're going to win with that stuff. But because of the confidence I gave you and a positive a mental frame of mind, it made
Yeah.
pitching that much easier.
Nice. Okay. And the last one. What's your favorite pitch to throw? What type of pitch do you like throwing?
Anything that would get him out.
There you go. Don't matter. Curveball, slider,
Anything
any
that got him out.
they get out. There you go. I like that answer. Okay, Paul. So on April 2nd, I believe 1976, you were traded. You
Yeah,
know the infamous Reggie Jackson
yeah,
trade,
yes,
Ken and Air, and some other players, Don Baylor.
yes.
So what's the mindset when you get traded as a player? Obviously, you know it's a business, but you know you're kind of fresh in the league. You just got here, you're getting comfortable with your team, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, now you got to start over. Go meet your new teammates. Go meet your new manager. What's that like when you get traded? You know, especially mid-season.
You said it right there. I had a lot of comfort with the organization. That's the organization I came up with. I knew all the players. I was very familiar with the situation. Now you go to a situation which is which you're uncertain of. I didn't know my teammates, even though it was a good organization. I was going to a good team with outstanding players. It's just
Mhm.
that uncertainty that you just don't know what to expect, and that's it. And luckily, thank God, I went with two other players that I was very familiar with, Mike Torres and Donnie Bell, which made the transition a lot
Yeah,
easier for me.
that's good. That's good. Okay, Paul. So what was the decision in stop playing majors, to stop playing baseball, period? So what was that after 5 seasons with the Brewers? So what was that last season like where you finally said, hey, I don't want to do this anymore, maybe my body's telling me to stop? What was the decision in to stop playing in the majors?
Well, it wasn't really my decision. It was a financial situation from the Milwaukee Brewers. Uh,
Mm,
the previous year, as you can see, that I was 5-5 with
mhm,
that year, and I started a lot of games, and I think I had two shutouts that year. And I got a letter from Harry Dalton in the off season saying how good a season I had and looking forward to me coming back. But
mhm,
what happened was I think we came in second place uh, that particular year. But in the off season,
mhm,
what happened was we signed uh, Ted Simmons from St.
mhm,
Louis, who was a 10-5 guy. So they had to pay him up front. And then also Raleigh Fingers came over as a free
mhm.
agent. He wasn't signed, so they had to sign him. And then the downfall of me was that I was going to be the fifth starter. They signed Pete Vukovich, who would take he would slide into the fifth starting position. And all those three players were unsigned, so they had to pay those three guys. So they were not going to pay me my money to be the fifth starter. So it was more or less a financial thing that the Brewers had to say, we can't pay him, so we're going to release him. So
Okay,
that's what happened.
gotcha. Makes sense. Okay, got it. Okay, so let's talk about one of the best players in the game right now, Shohei Ohtani. So obviously, he's a pitcher and a hitter. Do you think this is going to start a trend of more players pitching and hitting, or do you think he's just one of a kind? Like he's just that good where he can do both effectively?
He's one of a kind because it's you really can't do both very well. In fact, how many guys in the big league struggle just doing one or the I mean just one,
Yeah,
pitching and hitting. But to
yeah.
have that type of ability, he's a big guy. He has good size. So he's the exception, not the general rule.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a, it's
All right.
it's
Oh,
very
yeah.
very difficult to do
Yeah.
one, and but to do both well
Do
successfully.
both. Oh,
It's
exactly.
he's the exception, not the general rule.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's one of a kind. I think he's gonna go down
He's a
as
generational player.
he is. Yep. You said it. Yep. And then the fact what he did with the money, taking pay cuts and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
He's a different type of player. Yep.
yes.
Okay, Paul. So going back to the Cape League. So in 2002, you was inducted into the Cape Cod Baseball League Hall of Fame. So tell me what that experience was like. Getting inducted into uh, not only a league you won 3 titles, but something that helped you get to where you were, in your career at that point. Making it to the majors. So just talk about what that league meant for you. And your progression as a baseball player, and then what the ceremony was like to get
Well,
honored.
it was a very humbling experience. Uh, to get to join the members of the Hall of Fame. And the ceremony was very, very. I mean, it was an opportunity to meet other players that were very successful in the league. And the class that I was in, I think we had Nomar Garciaparra, we had Jason Veritek, Ron Darling, myself, and my manager, Bill Livesey, was also inducted. And I think there were 2 umpires that were inducted. But it's a tremendous honor. There's no question about it. So I look forward to it, and it was good. It was great.
Yeah. So in 2011, you served as an honorary captain for one of the CCBL All-Star games. So
Yes.
at Fenway, which is ironic, full circle moment. So just
Yes.
tell me what that was like, coming back years later from when you played and just seeing how the Cape League has progressed up until that point. So just coming back to where it all started.
What really surprised me is that how much taller and how much bigger the players are.
Yeah.
I was 6'1", it was probably one of the taller kids on our staff down the Cape League. But then at this particular All-Star game, all these kids were like 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". You could throw the ball pretty hard. They good movement, and that's what really stood out to me is how tall the pitchers were getting. And I mean, we had skill level players when I played, but and they had pretty good skill levels players too. So I mean, ability wise, we're about the same, but it's a difference in size now of the kids that are playing today, especially in the big leagues. You see all these kids now are 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", even taller.
Yeah. I was saying the same thing. I went to a high school game and it was like they had a pitcher that was like 6'6".
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah,
like you don't usually see pitchers that tall, just towering over the rest of the team.
Yeah.
It was but I agree with you on that. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's stick with the Cape League a little bit, Paul. So just talk about those 3 years with the Commodores, how it was off the field. Building that friendship, that bond with your teammates over the 3 years, your coach over the 3 years. Maybe it's still people you talk to, to this day or have, up until recent days. But just talk about that, just coming back every summer and building that bond with, lifelong friends possibly or teammates that you still keep in contact.
Well, it's kind of difficult to build up a bond with the players because once the season's over, each goes to a separate college, each goes to separate ways. But what's fortunate is that I've had 2 reunions with several of the members from that team. One was at I can't think of the restaurant we had it at, but there was a reunion. I think about 10 players came back, and then we went to the game, and we all threw out the first pitch. And there was another time we also had a reunion. So we did keep in contact, but when I knew I had to go to the Cape League for the summer, the first 2 seasons was very difficult for me because I had a very difficult job. Now, it's probably different today, but I worked for a landscaping company. So when I cut grass, I did paving. So physically, it was very, very demanding for me to play baseball and to work as hard as I did. But when I did pitch, he gave me half a day so I could go home and rest for it. But and a few of the players, pretty difficult jobs too. Now I think it's a lot easier. And we had 2 or 3 guys that work with me on this particular landscaping company down there. But then my last year, after playing 2 years down there, it's like I worked for the town as like a counselor for grammar school kids. Was a piece of cake job. I just worked from 8 to 12, and then I would go home during the day. So, but as far as our relationship with the players, we all got along. Like I said, I think the reason that we played so well as a team together is because we got along so well together. And Bill Livesey kept us, on our toes. We had the thing with Bill is that he told us we're down here for one reason. We're here to win the championship. And he kept that goal in the back of our minds, and that's what our mindset was, to win, and if we could, to win every game and win the championship. And we had a mindset, and we played that as a team, and we played together as a team to do that.
Nice, nice. Okay, Paul. So after you retired from the majors, did you still play a little bit? I know you mentioned it briefly, but did you still play? Did you coach? Like, what was the life, for baseball after you stopped playing in the majors?
Well, then what happens is, you get into the family style of living. So my whole
Mm.
life was my work. I had a window cleaning business, and then my kids, getting involved with their sports. Like my daughter played 3 sports, my son played 3 sports, and then I coached her, I coached him. So everything was acclimated to the family and being their coach. I coached him, my son, Little League, Babe Ruth, and then I got away from it. I coached her in softball. So everything was geared to the family and coaching them and getting them in the right position, right times and all that stuff. So it was geared away from me toward them.
Okay, nice, nice. And so I know baseball was a big part of your life. So any hobbies outside of baseball, and that includes coaching little leagues and all that. Any hobbies you like to do outside of baseball from the majors up until now? It doesn't have to be currently.
Okay, everything I would say, because I was so proactive in the family,
Mhm.
and I didn't have, between my work and the kids, I didn't
Okay.
get involved in too many outside activities. But once they left and once they went to college and started their own families, I got in the bad habit of playing golf.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yep, that's the way to
So
go.
golf,
Yep,
so golf. I just came back from playing golf before you called me.
yeah. That's funny. Yeah, golf is it's a good sport
Yeah,
to
yeah. So, but
go out.
now I'm really involved with my grandkids. Every activity that they're in, I try to be there for them. I watch them play, and then, but my activity for my own self is just playing golf.
Yeah. All right. All right, Paul. So it seems like we made it through. I know at the beginning we talked about your iPad maybe
Yeah.
dying out on us, but it seems like we made it through. So, Paul, thanks again for coming out to the studio, taking out time to speak to me.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Real. You know he's for real. My brother, he's cooking no chill. Views up, we talking about mills. Hold up content, captured like stills. Heavyweight champ, and he is still. From PG County to Mass, swagger on blast. Head of the class, style and class. Interviews money like chasing the bag. The content provider, we run it like laps. Sports, music, the best that act. Entertainment from around the map. Do not be sleeping away from your nap. Bringing the best, ready to crash. Top tier records, we set them and smash. Delivered by Dan, we sprint and we dash.
With CJ, with CJ, with CJ. Coolin' with CJ, with CJ, with CJ. Coolin' with CJ, with CJ, with CJ. We coolin' with CJ, with CJ, with CJ.
You just got moss. Coolin' with CJ. It's your boy Day Green.